Welcome to Your Daily Writing Habit. If you are writing a book or thinking about it, or maybe you've started writing your book but you're having some trouble finishing it, you are in the right place. Good morning. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh, also known as Christine Inc., like that stuff we write with. Each day I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 19 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author. Those three things are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. And I am so excited to have one of my favorite people, favorite friends and clients and everything on the show today as my guest. Let me tell you some things about her. Her name is Judge Cristina Perez. Cristina is internationally renowned as the three-time Emmy Award-winning television judge on Cristina's Court and Emmy-nominated Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. She has also been frequently featured on radio and television as a legal expert, including on ABC's The View and CNN's Larry King Live. According to a syndicated network television association survey, Cristina ranked as one of the most trustworthy and influential syndicated hosts on television, ranking second behind Oprah Winfrey among adults 18 to 34 years old. Cristina is also active in her community and was selected as a California's Woman of the Year for her community service and activities and was named one of America's top 10 Latina advocates for making the world a better place for women and Latinos' rights by the national magazine Latino Leaders. Cristina is the author of 3 books: Living by Los Dichos, It's All About the Woman Who Wears It, 10 Laws for Being Smart, Successful, and Sexy Too, and Red, White, and Latina, Our American Identity. Welcome, Cristina, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chris, so much. It's just such a privilege and an honor to be with you because, I love what you do, and I love how you are able to create our feelings and our expressions and our everyday heart and what we feel on paper. It's such a magical gift that we should really applaud and really try to encourage in our kids too. Writing is really the key to who we are. And I know we're going to talk a lot about identity, and it's part of our identity. It's what's going to be able to connect us in the future to those people so they understand.
That is so well put. Thank you. Yes, it's a gift that I cherish and sometimes have to be reminded of. So thank you for that reminder, because it comes so naturally, but I'm so glad it's being instilled in kids, and I know in yours, and your amazing genius daughter. So that's awesome, the point you just made. All right. So before we get into talking about all the words and all the books, especially given my audience of authors and aspiring authors, based on your impressive resume of court shows and media appearances as a legal expert, it seems very clear to me and anyone that sees you that you are very passionate about the law. So I'd like to know, when did this passion for the law, when did it begin for you, and was there anything in particular that triggered it?
I think that, I think that our love and our passion is inherent in, I think it comes from upbringing. It comes from people's experiences in life. And I think we're born with it, and we don't really know until we start living out our life. For me, law, I think, was a natural progression of my childhood, of my parents' experiences in the United States, as immigrants, as I saw as a child and really didn't understand, but tried to decipher and really understood as an adult what they went through. I've been blessed, and my parents have been blessed to have an incredible life in the United States. The doors that were opened to them as immigrants has been just without measure how grateful I know my family is. But despite being extremely educated and being professionals and establishing an incredible life, not using any type of public benefit, my parents exemplify the story of every stereotype that people have about immigrants. So for me, I think that's where my passion came from my family's identity, their story. and I felt very deeply what they went through, and I thought it was unfair. So I think that passion led me to law, and here we are.
Absolutely. And you've shared, so freely of your family stories and, all the things that you just talked about in your 3 books. So, what do you love about being an author, since you've done 3 of them so far?
What do I love about being an author? I think I love being able to express. Sometimes, it seems like we don't have enough. It's just like how you express love to your child, to your husband, to your partner, to your parents. Sometimes we don't have enough time in the day, and we don't do it enough. We don't tell them how much we love and appreciate, or we do it to each other as friends. I know you and I don't talk enough, but we always feel it in our heart. I think that being an author and writing it down, putting it on paper, memorializes the affection, the love, the passion you have towards something. Reading back, I know we were talking specifically, we're going to talk about Red, White, and Latina. As I read the foreword that Senator Nina Turner wrote for this book, it gives me chills, because I will always know what was in her heart. I will always know the struggle that she went through as a young adult, seeing her mother die at an early age. I think that is the most magical part of being an author, is that you will forever on paper have our thoughts, our feelings, what we think at that moment, to decipher in the future, for our kids to be able to read, to enjoy, to laugh, to try to grow from. I hate to be so dorky to compare it to the Declaration of Independence, but yes, they felt that, our founding fathers back then felt that this was necessary to write down, to be authors. And little did they know it would be the most important document of our country, because they felt that passion at that moment for the love they had for this country. And they had to put it on paper, to memorialize what they were feeling, what they thought was right, what they thought was wrong, which was left for us to interpret today. So I think that's the power of being an author.
That's so true. And there's something I talk about, my regular listeners will be laughing, as I talk about your why for writing a book. And I have to tell you, that's single-handedly one of the most powerful whys for being an author that I've ever heard in my life. So that was amazingly put.
Good.
Yeah. Everyone's like, why? Oh, Christine's going to start talking about why again. Oh, they know my regular rant on the show.
They know your regular
That's really cool. Oh, I have the best listeners ever. Just want to put that out there. And so, let's talk about that 3rd book. Focus on your 3rd and most recent book, Red, White, and Latina, Our American Identity. Obviously, such an important book with an incredibly relevant and almost prophetic message. The book was published in 2017, but in the book you share that you were writing it during the summer of 2016, leading up to the last election. That election might have been tame compared to this one. But looking back, what was happening at that time? If you think back to the summer of 2016, how did what was happening inspire your book's message about Americans coming together, hopefully trying to come together as one single American identity?
Well, it's been a perpetual, agony, because in 2016, whatever political party you believe in and support, you believe in for your personal reasons, and I have to respect. I come from a family that Republicans, Democrats, liberals, Green Party, I have it all. So I have very colorful arguments or discussions. But what happened in that last election, in my opinion, was really ugly. It hurt, because it really affected what I thought we all stood for as Americans. I never thought that we would, of course, there's always hate, there is always disrespect, and there's always bad people in the world and good people, but I never thought that we would come to a place where we would so freely and easily disrespect each other as Americans and our basic foundation of our American identity. And it really hurt. I mean, it hurt me personally. And I think that's why, again, you go back to being an author. And, this is a really short book. Have a cocktail and you read it literally in less than an hour. But it literally, I've always thought, and I still believe that America, the very diversity of America, is our strength. But now it seems that people don't believe that that's the case. We don't believe that being different is a positive thing, and we are outwardly telling people that. And I think it's just tearing apart our who we are as Americans. There's always going to be racism. There's always going to be issues that people can have about immigration, and there's always going to be issues of terrorism. There's always going to be questions of who's the better patriot, who's not, what is patriotism, what is America. I get that, but we always had a core that there was an issue of respect, and I didn't see it then, and unfortunately, I haven't seen it now. And the truth of what we really stand for. The struggles that we went through back in the 60s and even earlier, and history, it seems like it doesn't really matter anymore. And I think that's essentially, for me, the key.
So true. And, you covered so many great topics in the book. So do any of the topics that you covered come to mind in terms of, what's changed, whether for better or worse or otherwise? The topics in the book, what has changed with those topics since you first wrote the book?
I don't think anything's really changed. I think all these issues are really kind of the same. I think they're probably more on steroids. I think that we are forgetting the power of what the American dream is. I think that's really, really important. I think political correctness is still an issue, but it's basically just out the door. I think we're going the opposite way. I think that unfortunately, being, the A word we talked about, being American is now extremely different to a lot of people. And I think it's slowly creating, I think a very negative, thing, just a very negative sense of what we're doing. And it's just really, really sad that unfortunately we can't remember that we should all have common sense and really common values and have a common ground. We can have differing opinions, but don't lie, don't disrespect yourself. But let's just say, okay, I don't believe in what you're saying, and I think, fine, it's a bunch of BS, but fine, let's sit at the table and kind of go through it, right? It seems like we're not willing to do that anymore. So that's a problem for me. So while a lot of the themes are very much alive, I think the themes have really progressed to become more negative, unfortunately.
I can totally see that. And really,
because, I think it, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I remember, and I think we did, and I'm looking at, I think it was in our prologue, that we put a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, which basically we believed in the dignity of the individual and the freedom and equality, not only for Americans, but for everybody on earth. And there has always been a universal sense of brotherhood and goodwill. And that's what I'm afraid we're lacking now, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, I can see that. And so really kind of like looking at the positive here, if we can find the positive here, what would you like people to realize about, this phrase that you use, our American identity, the message in the book? What can we do between now and the election and after? Or, what kind of advice do you have in terms of, coming together as, is there hope for us? what do we do to discover that collective American identity?
Hope. I mean, there's always hope today. I mean, I know we are recording this today on 9/11, right? What a symbolic day for America. We can all come to agreement that today is a powerful day for us. It is the ultimate example of sacrifice, of love, of resilience, of hope, of what we stand for. That should be every single day. Do you know, today's a special day that makes us, that forces us to feel such a tremendous loss. But we should be able to work on this together. And, it's really important that we understand that each person, my daughter says to me, well, Mom, why does it really matter if you vote? Because you really don't vote. You don't really elect the president. It's electoral college. Yes, but the power that we have in our voices is very important. So I think that's always something that's very positive. I just want us to realize that we're collectively one people, and we're always going to be one people. It will take people a while to realize that, and it seems like it's okay right now for people to think that they can separate themselves from the other fabric of what makes us whole. But I think there's always going to be hope. There's always going to be something positive. I have to believe that. I think this is the greatest country in the world. I think that we should listen to each other, even though we disagree with each other, and I don't think we're doing that. It's so black and white. So hopefully people will understand that there's gray and they can listen to each other. And I am a firm believer that truth, like the law, will always prevail. So that's what makes me hopeful.
It makes me hopeful too. That's very well put there. Yes, this book, gosh, I told you, off there before we began, I've just been thinking about it. For all the, books that I've had anything to do with over the years, I've just been thinking about this book constantly. Of course, this summer, the summer leading into the next election. So I'm so glad that you could make the time to come share about it today, Cristina. I really appreciate it.
Oh my goodness, I love talking to you, and I think talking about or speaking about things that are important to each other is always important.
It is. And I want to make sure everybody knows they can get their copy. I would hope that every American gets their copy of Red, White, and Latina, Our American Identity by Cristina Perez. It's on Amazon. I'll also put a link in the show notes today. I really want to make sure everybody can get their copy just now, possibly more than when it was first published, I think, even, because I think the last 4 years have been proof of the value of your book, if that's even possible.
Mm-hmm. I hope so.
Yep. And all right, and then I know your website through my research is CristinaPerez.tv. That's another way for people to learn more about you, learn more about your books. The other two books that I mentioned, also excellent, different themes. It's all kind of, I think of your books, Cristina, as like the identity series, because Living by Los Dichos, that was like the family identity, and then it's all about the woman who wears it. That was your identity as a woman, and then Red, White, and Latina, Our American Identity. So I call it the identity series. Obviously an important theme for you.
I guess so.
Good. And we could have a whole other interview just on identity. So we'll do that next time. That's the sequel, and we'll have a whole identity conversation. But this has been great for, such a timely topic. And again, like you pointed out, today being September 11th, and it just kind of worked out today. So I hope everybody does keep all the things in mind and then some. And thank you again so much for being on the show today, Cristina. I appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure. And you keep doing what you're doing, Chris, because you help us remember everything that we do.
Oh, gosh. So honored. And thank you, everyone listening, for joining me here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. Until tomorrow, happy writing.